Good morning. Habari asubuhi to all of my friends in Nairobi right now who are watching. I'm Catherine Weichel with SunCulture. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for the company. And I want to start by saying thank you for this amazing opportunity to be here. Thank you to Millie and all of the organizers, as well as all the sponsors and the delegates who take an interest in supporting what we do. It's really pretty cool. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about two major competing crises and how our work at SunCulture, an agriculture company, is trying to solve both of these. First, we have the water crisis. Water is a natural finite resource, but 1 in 8 people don't have access to safe water supplies. This global crisis is caused largely by agriculture. I don't know how many of you know this, but agriculture claims about 70% of the freshwater withdrawals worldwide. Bad agricultural practices, specifically bad irrigation practices, are destroying this planet. As many of you probably know, irrigation is a method, quite simply, of transporting water to crops in order to maximize the amount and the quality of the produce that you're growing. 60% of all water drawn for agriculture is wasted due to inefficient irrigation methods. This means that over 40% of all fresh water globally is wasted due to bad irrigation practices. The amount of water wasted because of the bad practices is really tough for us to reconcile with the fact that irrigation is an absolutely critical component in the efficient use of our natural resources that we're going to need to leverage to feed the estimated 9 billion people that will live on this planet by 2050. If wasting fresh water wasn't bad enough, bad irrigation practices can also cause fertilizer and input runoff. So very simply, when the ground has more water than it can absorb, it washes the fertilizer and inputs away. This runoff fertilizes algae, and that depletes oxygen. This is the primary cause of oxygen depletion in many parts of oceans, especially in coastal zones, and also in lakes and rivers. This lack of dissolved oxygen makes it difficult for these areas to sustain oceanic fauna, and that causes dead zones, which is very detrimental to everything living in those areas. On top of that, dead zones disable our protection. So coral reefs are natural barriers to hurricanes, tsunamis, and other natural disasters. The dead zones make it really difficult for those regions to protect themselves against the natural disasters, resulting in massive economic losses. On top of that, people whose livelihoods depend on fisheries, aquaculture, and other ocean-based jobs lose those jobs. Coastal regions are destroyed due to soil erosion, and the economic trauma snowballs due to loss of industry, lack of job creation, and migration. Bad agricultural practices, specifically bad irrigation practices, in both the short term and long term, turn entire ecosystems off. Now let's talk about the second crisis. Oh, I'm going to skip ahead. Sorry. Okay, we're just going to go with this one. 3/4 of the world's poorest and hungriest people are smallholder farmers. It's very ironic to us that 3 out of 4 of the world's poorest and hungriest people grow food, which is the very tool that they can use to escape poverty and hunger. That is what frustrates us at SunCulture. Our mission is to make sure that no farmer is poor. And we're currently working in Africa, which is the continent with the greatest smallholder farmer challenges. Stay with that one. Africa has 65% of the world's unused farmable land. And 65% of the continent's workforce is involved in agriculture. But African smallholder farmers trail the rest of their global peers in yields, just very simply in the amount of crops they grow, by 50%. That means the continent of Africa spends over $35 billion per year importing food from other countries. That's pretty crazy. Africa also only contributes under 15% of global agricultural output. So that was a lot of numbers and it was a lot of stats, and unfortunately my stat slide didn't match, so I apologize for that. But what does that mean? That means Africa has a lot of farmable land and a lot of dedicated and hardworking farmers, but there's still a huge gap between the output that we're getting in Africa and on the rest of the planet. And that's a huge problem. There we go, we're back in. Now, there's many reasons why smallholder farmers in Africa are trailing their global peers, but two numbers in particular stick out to us. Does anyone know what 3% versus 47% means? Pardon? Nope. You guys didn't know this was going to be interactive. No? Any other guesses? Okay. So 3% of Africa's farmland is under irrigation. 47% of the land in Asia is under irrigation. Massive difference in what their farmers are able to produce. Irrigation is absolutely critical to farmer success. A farmer who uses irrigation, specifically drip irrigation, which is what we produce, can increase his or her yields by anywhere from 200 to 500%. It also allows them to grow higher value crops, which means more money when they take their crops to market. This realization was the genesis of our company. So when our founders, Samir and Charlie, first went to Kenya, because the first thing they did, they developed the product here in the US. And then they realized that before they even thought about selling, they needed to test it in Kenya. So they spent about 1 year in the field just talking to farmers with the system on their farms. The first farmer that they met was Peter. And this is Peter. Peter lives with his mom, his wife, and his 3 children on a 1-acre farm outside of Nairobi. To farm, Peter would wait for the rain to grow maize. In a good year, Peter made $600 a year. That's not a lot of money on any continent. Remember, if Peter irrigated, he wouldn't just be able to increase his yields and grow more, but he'd be able to grow higher value produce, gaining him more money when he takes them to market. So we asked Peter, very honestly, why he didn't irrigate, and one of the first things he told us was the recurring cost of powering his water pump with diesel or petrol. He spent $100 to $200 per month, depending on gas prices at the time, just to fuel his water pump. For Peter, making $600 a year, it wasn't feasible. He could not afford to do it. So not only did we need to figure out a way to get Peter to irrigate, but we needed to figure out a way to allow him to irrigate without adding to the trauma that bad irrigation practices cause for the planet. So now we've got 2 competing challenges here. How do we solve both crises? On one hand, bad irrigation shuts down ecosystems. On the other hand, not irrigating keeps 2.5 billion people on this planet in poverty. And they're unable to provide for their families. So how do we solve this? Okay. Our solution is the agro-solar irrigation kit. It combines the cost-effectiveness of solar-powered water pumping with the efficiency of drip irrigation. Basically, it's very simple how it works. The water pump pumps water during the day to an elevated tank, and then gravity feeds it into the irrigation lines that you're seeing across the field there. Drip irrigation delivers water directly to the crop roots. This increases their yields on average by 300%, and it saves up to 80% of the water they were previously using. So we told Peter about this solution, and his very first reaction, he laughed at us. He'd never used drip irrigation before, he'd never seen drip irrigation before, and he had no idea what to do with the technology. He told us, listen, even with amazing technology, smallholder farmers in Africa are one bad growing season away from financial ruin. So one of the first things he told us is that he needed us to be more than just another company that came to Africa to give a technology solution. He needed us to create a comprehensive solution. So we created a one-stop shop for our farmers. We do the installation, the training, agronomy expertise and support, and all of the after-sales support in-house. Basically, we take a farmer all the way from the planning stage of deciding what crops to grow. We teach them how to use the irrigation system, and then we're with them all the way through post-harvest when they take their produce to market. Next day delivery and installation anywhere in Kenya is also included in the cost of our kit. That actually, we like to say that makes us faster than Amazon Prime. Also makes us cheaper than Amazon Prime if you're a customer. We have found that providing complementary services instead of just focusing on the technology has allowed us to better meet the needs of our customers, African farmers. But it's also done something really interesting. It's allowed us to create trust with them so that we can help them adopt new solutions. Peter's now using the solution, and he's making $18,000 per year, and we're really damn proud of that. But what does that mean for Peter? His 3 children now attend better schools, they're getting a quality education, and they will break out of the cycle of poverty. His entire family, including his wife and mother, have better health care and better nutrition, so they get sick a whole lot less. He is now able to employ day laborers in his community so that he's creating jobs locally. That's what drives us. To date, we have sold over 1,000 units, and in the next year, our current customers will accomplish some pretty massive goals. They will save 3.3 billion liters of water. They will generate 75 megawatts of electricity. They will produce 18 million kilograms of fresh fruits and vegetables, and they will save 300,000 liters of diesel. Okay, part 2 of the interactive section. Does anyone know what this number is? It's an ag. No guesses. All right. So we talked about the fact that 65% of Africa's labor force is in agriculture. 1% of commercial loans on the continent are given into that sector. Banks, MFIs, and what's locally called in Africa SACCOs, lending institutions are failing farmers. And they have a lot of reasons that I'm not going to get into. But that wasn't good enough for us. So our next innovation is what we lovingly call pay-as-you-grow. We're going to give farmers a solution that combines high-quality seeds and fertilizers, everything they need to make their shamba successful, also with our industry-leading solar irrigation technology and all of the agronomy support and the services that they need, at a cost of $6,000. To make it affordable, we're financing it over a 2-year period, and we have designed it so that we can allow for variable payments. Farmers do not get paid on salary. So unlike most of us in this room, they don't take a steady paycheck. They make a very little bit while they're growing, and then they make a lot after harvest. So that's how we've designed our payback system. So the $100,000 Ocean Exchange grant will go directly to helping us solve the $150 billion shortfall in agriculture lending on this planet. It's going to help us build the team needed to roll out this product, and it's also going to help us build the technology infrastructure needed to support it. We've done a lot of firsts. We were the first company to commercialize solar power irrigation in Africa. We were the first company to create a turnkey solution for farmers in Africa. And with partnership and support, we will be the first company in the world to create a bundled smallholder financial product that addresses both of the crises that we just discussed. and I'm going to get caned. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to hearing your questions. Cut it right at the end.
Nice job, Catherine. Questions? Right over here.
Thank you for the presentation. Mm-hmm. You stated that you sold 1,000 units to date.
Correct.
Can you tell us what the time frame is and how you sold them? Was it going door to door? Was it through a partner institution?
Yep. Great question. Thank you. So we launched in 2012. That's when all the research in the field started. But we sold our first product in May of 2013. We have sold in Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and we're doing the largest solar-powered water irrigation installation in South Sudan right now, and Somalia as well. Our target is smallholder farmers, so 90% of our sales are my Kenyan sales team and our Kenyan technician team going out and talking to farmers and explaining the solution, making sure they understand, and then finding a way to help them finance it. We do have several partners who are NGOs. We've worked with World Vision, Norwegian Refugee Council, and quite a few others on bigger installation projects that, for example, in South Sudan, we are doing 150 acres, but it's all broken up into 1-acre farms that individual farmers are growing on.
So I have a question. He has a 1-acre farm.
Yes.
And did he expand it, or is he's getting the 18,000 out of that 1 acre?
He's getting 18,000 out of that 1 acre.
Fantastic. That's amazing. Any other questions?
Thanks.
Great job.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
you did it.
Thanks.